So, hello,
You're welcome.
everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to share my screen right now. Just give me one second. Um, Welcome to Brave Voices, Bright Futures, Breaking Barriers for Girls in STEM and STEAM. We're so excited to be a part of this Global Innovation Field Trip panel discussion. I want to start off by doing our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge, one second here. Sorry, here we go. There we go. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. And the reason why we did this land acknowledgement for Toronto, because that is where Ace & Co is based, but our panelists are from many places. So right now, I want to introduce ourselves. My name again is Antoinette Ellis, also known as Tony. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ace & Company Limited, Ace & Co. We are a recruitment advisory firm that helps women and girls explore careers in STEM and STEAM. I'll also pass it on to my co-moderator to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anu Bahri, and I'm the Director of Education and Partnership.
All right. Now to introduce our panelists, I will start with Surya. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. This is Surya, and I'm from United Arab Emirates, and I'm heading the Department of Innovation for a group of schools under global school groups. And this is my seventh year as the head of innovation and entrepreneurship, and I'm so happy to be a part of this particular group and looking forward to have a very fruitful discussion for the next 45 minutes.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to Lauren.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm also from Toronto, and I'm a third year biomedical engineering student at Toronto Metropolitan University, and also the executive vice president for my university's Women in Engineering Club. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Nishka.
Hi, very nice to meet you all. My name is Nishka Lal. I'm from Texas in the United States, and I'm currently a first year Georgia Tech CI student and a TEDx speaker, and I'm very happy to be here to talk to you all about women in STEM.
Thank you. Claire.
Hello, everyone. So nice to meet you all and be here today. My name is Claire. I am also from Toronto. I go to Toronto Metropolitan University as well. I am a mechanical engineering student, and I am one of the co-presidents of my university's Women in Engineering Student Society. And I'm very, very excited to be here.
Thank you. Sabrina.
Hi, my name is Sabrina. I'm from also Toronto, Canada, and I am here representing the Pink Stairs as an executive director, and I'm super excited to be here today.
Thank you. Vivian.
Hi, I'm Vivian, and I'm also here today to represent the Pink Stairs as a women empowerment organization. I serve in a lot of executive positions, and I'm really interested in business, so I'm really excited to share what I know and what I've been through.
Thank you. And definitely, maybe last but not least, Suchita.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suchita. I'm currently a senior in high school. I'm from Connecticut in the United States, and I'm part of various women in STEM organizations such as Tech Girls. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you. So, some of you may not know, we started a survey for girls that are 13 and older, and we wanted to understand what are some of the barriers they face when trying to explore STEM and STEAM. So we put some insights here, and these are directly from the voices of girls that are 13 and older, and this is their brave voices. So what we noticed is 74% rated that they do have interest in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. They rated it 4 to 5 out of 5. But then we also noticed that 60% or plus, even more, hesitate to ask questions for fear of being judged. We also noticed that their high enthusiasm but low assurance remains a challenge. When we look at our support challenge, what was really eye-opening to me is that only 14% feel supported by their male peers. A significant number face gender biases in collaborative efforts. Building a more inclusive environment is also essential. When we look at what some of the key challenges are, so you notice I didn't read them all out because I know you all could read, but when we look at our key challenges, we see that fear of failure is 66.7%. Not knowing where to start, 52.4%. Those that have low confidence in math and science, about 50%, and gendered biases and stereotypes, 50%. I'm now going to pass it on to Anu. Anu, if you can share with us what some of these girls have seen or heard about girls in STEM and STEAM.
Thanks, Tony. It's not just about the numbers and the percentages. We were really kind of taken aback by some of the testimonials that we read. And we just wanted to put a few to give you context. So a few people said women aren't dependable or smart enough to contribute. That was the feelings that they had. Or some of them were surprised at the amount of girls who dropped out of engineering programs within the first year. And the fact that we do have a few engineering students in our discussion today, I'm very interested to hear what they have to say. And then finally, some of them feel like they don't have what it takes, or they feel like that they're a DEI admit into the program that they're in, or perhaps the spaces that they take up. So really looking at both the numbers and the testimonials together really provoked both Antoinette and myself to some of the questions that we wanted to ask our panelists today.
Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen because now we're going to go into the actual discussion. And Anu, I'll pass it to you to kick us off.
Yeah, so let's start with first the voices that we're hearing of our young women. So to all the panelists that are on today, when you hear that so many girls are feeling passionate about STEM and STEAM, but they still have questions and fear of being judged, how does that resonate with your experience? And why do you think that hesitation probably exists? So Nishka, I can see you on my screen first. Can I ask you to respond if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. I think that it honestly breaks my heart that some girls are so scared to start their journey in STEM because I think they have so much potential. But I do think it resonates with me a lot because I grew up in a community where STEM always meant a lot of guys in my classes. I was in a program in elementary school and middle school, and there was just me and one other girl, and there was like 20 guys. The ratio it was so mismatched. And I think being the person in that group who asked for help kind of makes you feel like the odd one out. And the whole idea of imposter syndrome is definitely very big in girls in STEM, and even at a young age. And I think that I 100% know where they're coming from. And I think that it doesn't get any better the older you get. But I do think that if we have the courage to just stand up and talk, that it definitely can be better if we try to make it better.
Anyone would like to join Nishka in what she said?
Yes, I would like to. The question is it really resonates to me. I think as Anushka said, it's mainly I think many of the girls have got natural curiosity and passion towards this, but the only thing is there is often a fear of judgment or failure, which is what makes the girls hesitate or hesitate to come forward. So this hesitation exists because of the stereotypes and because of the past experiences where questions may not have been encouraged or feel that they might not belong to the space. So in my experience, the key is to create a safe environment that support the questions. That support asking question is a natural phenomenon of learning. So when the questions are being celebrated in an environment or in a learning space, of course, this kind of coming forward and participating in STEM can completely eradicated. So this is my part of experience.
Great, great. Claire or Lauren, you're both at TMU right now. What are your thoughts?
I can talk a little bit. This definitely resonates with my personal experience. I know for the first couple of years of my studies, when I would be struggling in a couple of my classes. I would hear a lot of people kind of suggest like, oh, go to your professor's office hours, ask questions. And I definitely felt extreme amounts of hesitations in going to ask about that. There was definitely a lot of kind of, even though I was struggling and I knew a lot of my peers around me were struggling with some courses as well, there was still so much hesitation about going and asking our teachers and professors, which looking back on it is definitely a little heartbreaking because that it's such an incredible resource in order to kind of help you throughout university, which can definitely be something that gets a little bit hard sometimes. So kind of after the first time that I went to my professor's office hours and built up the courage to do it, I do my best to encourage my peers, go with them if they like kind of need any help. So kind of really building off of community in order to take advantage of these resources that are there to help. I think that's definitely something that's helped me a lot in my personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going based off what Claire and Surya both said, I was also petrified of asking my profs questions in my first year. I wanted to make sure that I didn't come off as like not being confident enough as an engineering student. But yeah, definitely like Surya was saying, like the professors that made an atmosphere where you felt comfortable going to their office hours and comfortable asking them the questions really made me come out of my shell more. And now even when the profs like may not be as forward with saying you can come and ask me questions whenever you want, I still feel a lot more comfortable coming up to them.
Wonderful. Suchita, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. I think imposter syndrome, like Nishka mentioned, is definitely so real. Um, I feel like a lot of the underlying hesitation comes from the fact that when girls are sitting in a room full of males and they're talking about engineering and it comes to the point where they have to present their ideas, it often feels like no matter what they say, they're not heard. They can say it once, twice, thrice, a million times, and it's only after the male peer next to them suggests it that it's finally applauded, congratulated, that it feels like, oh, they have to, if they are saying something, it has to be right. They can't make mistakes. There can be no errors in what they're thinking. And so this kind of creates this air of hesitation and feeling of not belonging. And it's definitely something that I experienced when I first joined my like local FLL team. I was one of two girls and I was in fifth grade and everyone else was in sixth and seventh grade and these guys were like huddled around like this tiny Lego robot and I was here like I had ideas but I was like I'm young, I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And I definitely some of that on confidence definitely just came from myself. Like sometimes it wasn't even other people telling me that I wasn't enough. Sometimes it was just me telling myself that. And I think ultimately, a way to just kind of mitigate this issue is creating environments that people feel comfortable and heard, such as these panels.
Wow, wonderful. And finally, Vivian and Sabrina.
Yeah, so in recent years, I like never even thought about doing STEM because I always had this connotation that it was just for guys. It's nothing that I should do or to even go near. But it was just been recent years that I've started to really come to this realization that I have a passion for STEM and I shouldn't fear it, especially even though there's so many guys around me. I think that it shouldn't be so daunting because I'm not any lesser than them and I have the same potential. And so because of this and this newfound confidence, I think that's really important to be able to act upon it and just not be afraid.
Oh yeah,
Vivian,
I
anything
think
you'd like to
for
add?
me,
Sorry.
yeah, so I think for me, like, especially like growing up, I feel like I was really soft-spoken. And I know like for some things like for example, Nishka mentioned that in a lot of different settings, like there's a horrible ratio for girls to boys. And especially if you're really soft-spoken, it's really hard to like express yourself and share some of your opinions, if you're sort of the odd one out. But I feel like, especially in I feel like my area of town at least, there's been a lot of women empowerment organizations and there's been a lot of increasing opportunities, which has been really great. Especially even in my school, like STEM opportunities are becoming a lot more open to women as well. And I even just like went to a business conference that was hosted by RBC that was just for women. So I feel like there are definitely a lot of like things that society is trying to do to like make opportunities more accessible, but it's always been something I struggled with, and it's really difficult, especially when you're young.
It's quite interesting how all of you in different parts of the world have had a lot of the same experiences and feelings, you know? So it's not just something happening in, you know, North American society or anywhere else. So quite interesting. Tony, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, thank you all for sharing that. And see how powerful it is. It's just the very first question, and we're seeing this. So, panelists, the survey showed that a lot of you felt this way, but a lot of the survey also showed that the few girls feel supported by male peers. Have you ever experienced true allyship? And what does genuine support look like in your community? Anyone could go first.
They're all thinking.
Have you experienced allyship? And if not, that we want to hear that too. So I'm gonna pick a name. I'm gonna go with Lauren.
Okay. Well, so I'm on Women in Engineering, as I've mentioned before. And each year we host a Women in Engineering conference. So all the different universities will send their Women in Engineering to our school and we'll do workshops and panels. And our last year's conference, we did have a number of male volunteers who helped us task behind the scenes. But in my opinion, they were very good allies. They did what I think genuine allyship should do, which is not like overstepping or trying to outshine the women who are running the conference, but rather just kind of like uplifting them from the back or from the background and just really like listening to our experiences and not trying to like speak over top of us. So that was one time that I experienced true allyship.
Thank you for sharing, Lauren. And so these males that were allies, so they volunteered to be a part of to help out?
Yes,
Well,
they
that's
did.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Nishka, what about you? Have you experienced true allyship?
Yeah, I do think so. I think this was like when in my past month I did a hackathon and we had a group of I think it was three girls and one guy actually. And there were a lot of times in like especially CS-based hackathons where people would speak over me or they would just like think of my ideas as suggestions more than just like actual ideas and they would say, oh, like handle the presentation making or the aesthetics as opposed to the actual coding. But I think this specific individual, he actually listened to my ideas. He kind of thought of me as an equivalent and not as someone who just would do the aesthetics. And I think he would always like, uplift my ideas. He would ask me for my like, suggestions and feedback and take them very seriously. So I do think like that is true allyship, like the idea that you think of someone as their equal, but also like support them and be able to engage them in the conversation as well, making them kind of feel like your counterpart, not just like another person.
Nice, nice. Thanks for sharing. Sabrina or Vivian, what about you? What about you guys? Have you experienced, and I know both of you are in high school, so have you experienced allyship even in high school?
I think that when someone asks me like, oh, like what pathway do you intend on going in? And I say that I want to do a mix of both computer science and business, especially when I tell a guy, they're very taken aback and they never like expected me to say anything like this. And I think that especially at my school, all the girls end up going into sort of the med pathway. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of this connotation that these guys have. And so they're kind of doubtful of whether or not I'll be able to succeed. And so a lot of things I'm like, oh, I want to do coding for this part or something. They're just kind of hesitant about whether or not I'll be able to do it. And so that's definitely something I've experienced in both elementary and in high school, but I hope to see um, some evolution in this. And I hope to, I've heard a lot of you guys' experience and in a university, you guys have had some allies, and I really hope to be able to encounter that in the future.
Okay, so I'm just gonna throw this in there. That's not even scripted. But Lauren, Claire, Nishka, Suchita, I think you all are in college or university. So what advice do you have for Sabrina? Is it getting better when she gets to university? Will it get better in terms of allyship?
I'll kind of answer it. I don't think that like per se it gets like very different than high school. I think people in college still have a very similar mindset, but I will tell you that like 100% there are so many peers that will support you and be there for you. So I do think that like there will always be those people who will talk down to you or think that you are not worthy of being in CS, even if you're in the same college as them, same program as them, and even same classes as them. But there are definitely so many good people out there who will be like your friend and your ally through it all. So know that there will always be someone there for you, and you'll never feel like as alone as maybe elementary might have felt for you.
Thanks so much for sharing. Just keeping mindful of our questions. So we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to answer, but I want to go through the questions. So, Anu, I'll pass it on to you for the next question, and we'll start with whoever didn't answer this question. I think Suchita probably is the next person.
Yes,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Anu.
So, looking at confidence, mentorship, and like the fear of failure. So many girls said that they don't approach educators or professionals because they feel not worthy enough or fear of being a burden, which definitely I've already heard this morning. Have you ever felt that hesitation? And what helped you overcome it? Or maybe what would have helped you? Or any advice you would have?
Let's go with Suchita.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that I have felt hesitation approaching educators, but I think I've grown and developed a little past that. Obviously, um, there is still like I still think about it like, oh, should I not? But I have been privileged to have some really, really supportive mentors. One of my favorite mentors, and I'm allowed to have a favorite. um, he's in fact he's a male, and he's very knowledgeable about everything that he does. He's actually one of my robotics mentors currently in FRC, and he loves questions, he loves curiosity, and I think he never really looks at like gender was never something that he looked at.
Yeah.
And so he was always like, guys, do you have questions? Like, ask me things, like I want to answer. And there was just this love of learning that he possessed that I think was truly infectious. And for me, seeing that in another person and like kind of understanding that, oh, some of insecurities truly does come from within, and that like there were people out there who supported me, kind of made me realize that I need to take advantage of this resource. And so I think he is definitely one of my mentors that I've approached for robotics issues. I've approached for like questions with physics for my physics class, for my chemistry class, math class, anything, life advice too. He's kind of been there for all of that. And I truly do think there are mentors out there regardless of gender, who are willing to truly help you because they just want to see you as everyone as individuals, girls and guys, grow and learn. And I think it's just a matter of like finding those mentors and then kind of keeping them close and really learning from them.
Can I just ask further, was there something specific that your mentor did that kind of put you over that hesitation of, asking these questions, feeling so open? Because that's the thing. I think it's great that you had that mentor, but how do other people listening get over that hesitation?
I think for us, whenever he was teaching like us something, the way he taught is he would explain like a very small concept, and then he would ask a question about why we thought it worked that way. And that kind of forced you to like open your mouth and speak up because he would look at specific people and he would say, "What do you think?" And it was really nice because it gave you the opportunity to use your voice. And there was no kind of like concern of whether you were right or wrong because oftentimes no one really got the question right. It was just a matter of like throwing your ideas out there, seeing what landed. And so just over time, you just kind of like everyone kind of like their confidence grew in just suggesting whatever they thought was like a possible idea. And I think because of that like style of engagement, it really helped me just kind of like bring me out of my shell.
Awesome. Sabrina or Vivian, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I guess if it was like, I think the question was like about advice or something that I wish I knew. So I feel like when I was a lot younger, like I mentioned, I was really soft spoken. So I think something that helped me a lot and I would recommend to anyone listening is that try to like always have intellectual curiosity and try to always ask as many questions as possible. If you're ever afraid to talk to someone, like don't be afraid to be embarrassed because it's better to ask stupid questions than not at all because after that you sort of get to learn and then in the future you can ask some really smart questions. But sort of just like basing it off of that. Like always exploring your opportunities is really great because at some point when you try to be a little bit extroverted and you try to take the opportunities, you'll slowly just like integrate yourself into whatever you want and you won't really be shut down by like what anyone else has to say about the fact that you're a girl or the fact that you might be inexperienced.
Mhm.
Nice. Can we also hear from Claire?
Yeah, for sure. How funny is it that I kind of brought up that I had this hesitation with my professors earlier? But yeah, definitely when I was first like starting off in university, I found myself very intimidated. It was these 400, 500 person lectures where I'm one of, I could count on two hands how many women were in that class, including me. And I think it was Nishka who talked on this earlier, how easy it is to kind of feel like an odd one out in that moment, and to kind of go and ask a question to the professor. It's very easy to kind of feel like the odd one out in that situation, even in moments where I would be struggling or confused or wanting to learn more. I had a lot of hesitation of being one of the few girls going to ask for help. And it was definitely a very unfortunate and kind of heartbreaking mindset that I had looking back on it. But I think after kind of building a strong community within my program and within my degree and having a lot of very, very supportive peers and friend groups and kind of learning that being confused is okay, struggling is okay. You're not going to understand everything you learn in university the first time. And if you need to go and ask questions, that's okay. The professor is the professor's not going to judge you for wanting to learn more or being curious. And if anything, they want you to succeed in their classes. So that's kind of what helped me work up the courage to go talk to my professors and ask questions about an exam for the first time. I had some friends who were also going to the office hours at the same time, so it definitely helped ease the I guess nerves about have talking one-on-one with my professor for the first time. But that definitely did help me overcome that hesitation. And I'm so glad it did because it ended up helping me tenfold. And I realized the value of resources like that, which is amazing.
Thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Claire. And like we have 14 minutes left. How is that possible? I feel like we're just getting into this. Anyhow, I hope we have a part two. But I want to ask Surya. So Surya, you've heard, from our young panelists what they're experiencing. So, for a young woman who's unsure where to start, what's one small way she can explore STEM and STEAM and build confidence to seek mentorship?
Well, to begin with, let me, appreciate every girls who are present here as panelists in the audience. You are in the right track, let me tell you. You have come out of that hesitation, that barrier, and I'm so happy that you all are blessed with good mentors in your life. And that one small thing, one small key, which I would like to give you as an educator of STEM, because hesitation is the first thing that I have experienced before being a STEM educator, a STEM student. So let me give you a small key to this. The key is to start with the curiosity. Always understand that curiosity is never a burden but a blessing. If you have that curiosity, you have stepped into the right track. Celebrate small wins. Even if it's small, don't think that it is silly or small. Celebrate every win and every wins, and remember that every expert in the field of STEM or non-STEM was what they began with a question. So every expert once started where you are right now. So taking that first step is always opens the door to guidance, support, and deeper exploration. So this is that one small thing which you can explore or to begin your exploration in STEM and STEAM, or whatever you call. And this can help you in building the confidence. Understand that if you have the curiosity to ask a question, make maximum use of it. Now, don't wait for that first thing or for that feel ready. If you have the question, or if you feel that something you have to learn, go for it. Because as STEM educators or as organizations, MNCs, they are not seeking perfectionists. They are seeking curious learners. So this is my one key which I'd like to give as a STEM educator to all the women in STEM.
I love how you said they're seeking curious learners. I'm going to use that from now on. That's great. Just really quickly to the panelists, in our survey, that fear of failure came up repeatedly. So how do you personally deal with failure or the fear of failure when you're trying something new? So even if it could be like a quick 30-second of what that is, what you do.
I can go first with that one.
Thanks, Lauren.
No worries. Especially, I guess, at the beginning of my engineering degree, my grades went down significantly from high school, and it was like really
Oh,
frustrating. But I guess how I bounced back from that failure, I now have way better marks in my courses. Is I guess just remembering that everyone has to start somewhere. When you're trying something new and it feels uncomfortable and you're not doing well, that's just a sign that you're growing and you're trying something new. And what's really important is just to make notes on what you can do better and what you can improve in the future. And that's how I got my marks back up, was making notes on how I was studying for the test and how I was studying for assignments and approaching my professors, like Claire said, and just making sure that I spoke more with them and I did more things to make myself successful.
Nishka, I see you like nodding your head.
Yeah, I think I very much agree to that. I think that whenever we try something new or like start anything, whether that's college or like a new like project or like assignment, I think it's really important to remember that it is like your first time or our first time doing something and that growth is so natural. And I think like as maybe a woman in STEM, like with high expectations, it's hard to see yourself fail. And but I think it should be more normalized than it is already because like everyone fails at some point. And I don't think it's
Yes.
failure. I think it's more just like opportunities to grow into a better person.
Claire.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree with Nishka and Lauren. I found something that helped me a lot as I was moving through university was I kind of found that I had to reframe the way that I saw failure, because it's complete, as I kind of mentioned, it's completely normal to be confused, to want to learn more, to struggle. Sometimes university courses can be very difficult, and it's important to kind of be able to take that challenge head on. I found I had to reframe seeing failure as, instead of, oh, I did something wrong, oh, I now have this op versus I have an opportunity to learn more and learn, I guess, better. For example, the first time that I failed an exam, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, how could I have messed this up this bad? But looking back on it, it wasn't that I messed it up. It was that I needed to learn how to study in a different way to be able to succeed
Yes.
in this class. So
Yes.
I found that really kind of reframing that failure and kind of recognizing that struggling is okay. A lot of it happens in university. Again, you're not going to nothing's gonna come perfectly for the first time every single time you do it, and learning how to see failure as an opportunity to kind of learn what you need to succeed and take that forward, that definitely really helped me be a lot more comfortable.
Anyone else would like to give their thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely like to add in. I think this is something that I have personally struggled with a lot, and I'm still currently navigating, and that's effort versus outcome. I've kind of had this mentality ever since I was young that if I put in like enough effort into this, if I spend like 10 hours, 20 hours, if I put my heart and soul, then that means that like obviously because I work so hard, that means that there should be like a positive outcome from this. And I think um kind of failure and that not happening has kind of taught me that, you know, effort doesn't necessarily equate to outcome. And sometimes you really do work hard and it just doesn't result in what you wanted. And something that my parents have always told me is that it's not necessarily about what the result is, but what you've learned along the way. And you'll kind of always take the lessons you've gained somewhere later. For example, whether it's I'm in DECA for like a business competition and I prepared this like startup business plan and I worked really hard on it and then it didn't get to the next round, then that's okay, but I learned how to make a business report. And maybe in the future, if I want to start my own business, then I know how to do that. And I think I think that's something that's really important to kind of acknowledge and understand. And that's just that it's not necessarily about what the result was about, but what you kind of gained and the skills that you gained and what you learned about yourself while you were doing it. So.
Thank you so much. I'm just looking at our time as well. I'm going to hand it over to you, Tony. Just wanted to say one last thing about that. I always tell my students fail is first attempt in learning.
That is awesome. I need to remember that because even as professionals, we still face some of that fear, right? Of failing, of making the wrong mistakes. So thanks for sharing that, Anu. So the gift team has given us a little bit of extra time. So instead of trying to rush this in the next 6 minutes, we'll be going on until over here Eastern Time, 11:55. So thank you, gift team. So for my question here, we have um, so many respondents said that they felt dismissed, mansplained, or excluded from group work. How do you feel hearing that? And have you experienced anything similar? And I want to, who hasn't got to share in a while? I
I
like
think
that.
Vivian and Sabrina.
Okay, Vivian, Sabrina, if you guys could take this question.
Okay, yeah. I can start. Like a lot of the competitions that I did, especially when I was younger, like because there weren't a lot of girls doing it, I was often paired up with like guys. I recently did a hackathon and I had a couple of male group members in that, and I do know how to code a little bit, and there were a lot of things that I was really excited to do. But just because they thought they had like a little bit more experience, they kept on like sort of fighting over the opportunity to do it. And then we ended up like staying up all night because they said they wanted to do it. And then I found out they ended up not being able to code and they were just saying that they were able to. And I ended up actually being like a better fit for the opportunity, like the task that we were doing. So I think it's like a big part of just communicating the skills that you can actually do. Sometimes you really just have to stand your ground. I also know there was like plenty of other times where like the guy was maybe just explaining to me something that I knew a lot about, something that I've done a lot of research on my own time. And it's a little demeaning sometimes. I know a lot of them mean well. I think really just to stand your ground and just communicate that, like, oh, like I don't really want to be spoken to that way, or I can take a hold of this part of the project or something.
Thank you, Vivian. And I think you asked Sabrina for next. Sabrina, you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think that being mansplained is so like a common thing now that it's almost like dismissed and it's just so normal. And I think that's a really bad thing because just because we're girls, it shouldn't like result in the fact that we are supposed to not know anything and then have things explained to us in a condescending way. And I think I've experienced that a lot of times. And it's just a perpetual cycle. I think that this really needs to be broken. And if ever you're mansplained to, I think that it's really important to, speak up for yourself and tell them exactly I know this and you shouldn't act like I don't know it and explain it to me in a way that belittles me. And I think it's really important to be able to address and break the cycle.
Thank you. I know you want to go into the next question or you want to have someone answer?
No, let's go forward.
Okay.
What do you think is the most effective way you've learned to assert yourself and ensure your voice is heard in male-dominated spaces? And I know we've kind of heard that, but is there something specifically that you do, or I just want to know what it would be like on your end. Nishka, is there something you do specifically?
Um, I I do think since I was a kid, I was very like quiet and I never used to like say anything to people. But I think like as I grew up, I think it's really beneficial to actually be someone's friend first before like trying to assert yourself. I think people miss that kind of point. I think they try to like be the leader or be the boss. And I don't think that works as well because then that makes males or even anyone feel like they're below you, and that's not a very like humbling feeling. And so I feel like just trying to be someone's like friend or understand them and then try to talk to them is more effective than just trying to like push your way into something. I think that's been really beneficial to me because I think that the moment you talk to them like they're also a person and your friend, I think it becomes easier to kind of build that rapport where you can actually assert yourself and be kind of, like, I guess, respected the way you want to be.
So building relationships. Yeah. Lauren, I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah, I think it definitely is the way that you respond back to that. Like, I think, like Nishka was saying, like, the friendlier you are, or like, I use a lot of humor to do it, or like a lot of, like satirizing what they just said so that they can see, like, oh, maybe when I just asked Lauren, for example, I was at our school does a charity event. So I was at the charity event helping out, and a guy came up to me and we were talking about biomedical engineering, and he was like, "Oh, you know so much about biomedical engineering. How many vertebrae are there? Can you explain what each of the vertebrae does or does to me? Like, do you really know
Yeah.
what the body does?" Yeah, and just using humor in those situations and just going like, "Whoa, whoa there, bud. What are you doing? What are you asking me?" Yeah, but in a friendly way, in a way that makes it feel like, oh, I can recognize what I'm saying to that person, but in a way that doesn't make it later on, if you have to see them again in a class or in another event, it's not like I don't want to talk to that person anymore.
It's very interesting how I'm hearing as we are gonna, be their friend, or we use humor, is that to protect ourselves as females or to see ourselves as more approachable? I'm just wondering, where sometimes wonder if you were just blunt and said what you were thinking, would that make a difference? I don't know. Suchita.
I think respect has to be earned, and I think it just for women it's a little harder to earn that respect. So I definitely think that there's this aspect of, building that relationship, but it takes more time for us to build that trust. So for me, I do think that humor, yes, it is to like protect ourselves, but it's also to maintain kind of a cordial relationship without breaking any or causing any fights, but also putting yourself out there. So for me, whenever I'm talking to someone and there's someone that I know and they know that I am capable, but people slip and they sometimes are like, oh, like, no, I think we should do this and like blah, 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 blah. And they go off on this whole tangent, then I'll just say something like, oh, why are we mansplaining? And then like it'll be something and they'll laugh about it and they'll be like, oh, sorry. But it's a way, it is like in a sense blunt because I am calling them out on
Yes.
what they're doing, but I'm also laughing while I do it. So it is like it's there's this balance,
Tongue
I
in cheek.
there's a very fine balance, I think, between humor, being very cordial, and then also like putting yourself out there and asserting yourself and like telling them like, yes, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony, let's take it over to you. You're on mute.
I still can't believe I still keep doing that. I don't understand that. But anyways, thank you. I want to pass this on to Surya. Surya, from your experience in the UAE, do you see similar challenges for young women, or are there cultural differences in how confidence and opportunities show up?
Mm. Oh, very emotional question. Okay, so let me tell you, there is no much differences in UAE what the other parts of the world women in STEM are facing. The challenges remains the same wherever you are in the part of the world. So it's universal. So like in many parts of the world, confidence always remains the key factor. Girls are often highly capable and passionate, yet they are hesitant to take that spotlight or voice their ideas publicly. However, what sets the UAE apart is its strong national commitment to empower the women in STEM and in leadership. So we have a very clear framework in UAE for the opportunity, from government to initiatives to the school programs which actively encourage the students to pursue innovation, research, science, and technology. And we are a group of schools, and many of our students have seen the female scientists, engineers, leaders who play a vital part in their role of STEM. So which helps normalize the ambitions in their field. So this is what I have been experiencing as a part of STEM educator in the UAE. There's not much difference, but yes, confidence, as you know, is always as a vital part in playing the STEM roles. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think we could take a page from your book. So thank you for sharing that. Anu, I'll pass it on to you.
So for everyone here, thinking about your schools or organizations, what are some ways you're helping to make STEM or STEAM more inclusive and welcoming for girls and young women? Can you share perhaps a project or initiative that's really working well? So maybe I'll start with Vivian and Sabrina.
Before you start too, you guys have like 30 seconds. No
No
pressure,
pressure.
but I definitely want to hear from everyone.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question? I think I lagged out a bit.
What are some projects or initiatives that you are working on that are going really well in being more inclusive for girls and young women?
Okay, yeah, definitely. So I think me and Sabrina can really touch upon this because we're executive directors for the Pink Stairs, which is one of the largest like women empowerment or like student-led nonprofit organizations for women. It's an international organization, but we're sort of based in around Toronto and Richmond Hill. And there's a lot of things that we're doing to sort of spread awareness and make sure that opportunities are more equitable, especially for women. For example, we recently ran like an intern program where we had young people, especially young girls, and we were sort of teaching them how to do things like fundraise or do work for nonprofits. And I feel like from that, we've definitely seen a lot of young girls get a lot more confident in themselves, and they were able to do so many things that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I guess that's one project that we've been sort of working on to make opportunities.
Thanks,
Great.
Vivian. I think she muted there for a second, but we're running close to time. I will pass it to, sorry, I know I'm hijacking you.
Go ahead.
Nishka. Nishka, what about you?
For sure. I used to have a nonprofit as well back in high school, and I continue kind of into college as well. And this is kind of more generally for students to be able to go into CS at an early age, to kind of be able to be ahead of their curve. But what we would do is we would have like women workshops where we would help like younger girls be able to kind of find like-minded people and be able to talk to their peers and kind of just have a way to have know that there are others with them and that they aren't alone. Because there was a lot of classes where there's like five guys and one girl, and we felt like they would kind of need a friend in that field. And so I think like at a young age, especially having a friend to be able to talk to and kind of connect to is really powerful in helping you kind of grow into a better person. So I think that's like one thing we did that worked pretty well.
Thank you. Lauren and Claire, you are both a part of TMU Women in Engineering, which is Toronto Metro University. Could one of you let us know what project or initiative that you're doing within your organization?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about it. So the Women in Engineering team at TMU focuses a lot on supporting and uplifting the women identifying student body in engineering. So we host, for example, a mentorship program with lower year students and upper year students. We host different events, both social and professional, to focus on community building as well as professional opportunities in a space that feels very welcoming and inviting and comfortable for women identifying students. I would say Lauren kind of touched on it before, but our biggest initiative that we do every year is host a conference for all women in our university as well as other universities in the GTA, and just kind of have that space to focus on career building, how to navigate the professional field as a woman in engineering. And we've seen incredible impact from this. Like, we know people who have gotten postgraduate jobs from our conference, co-ops from our conference. We have people talk about how much of a great time they had. So we're very, very excited to be working on it for this year as well.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Suchita, you're next.
Yeah, so I'm a part of a few kind of nonprofits and organizations as well. Two of them are called Tech Girls. One ends with an S and the other ends with a Z. The one that ends with a Z, Tech Girls, I was part of the student board and we led kind of national and local workshops. So that has impacted like middle school girls and elementary students in areas such as like learning JavaScript, but then robotics and Python and animation. And so just kind of introduced them to all these different ideas of STEM. And then this other organization, Tech Girls, that ends with an S, I was a US ambassador for that. And so I'm working with a team of girls in Lebanon um, to launch their nonprofit. And it's kind of inspired to help Lebanese girls find a place in STEM. And we hope to kind of expand that internationally as well. And then I've also just worked on like creating FLL teams in Seattle and then in my local area as well to kind of introduce younger students to STEM.
Thank you. So we have one question. We don't have time for everyone to answer, but if just one of you can answer this, If you had 30 seconds to inspire a young girl to consider exploring future in STEM and STEAM, what would that message be? And whoever wants to go first, go now.
For sure, I'll just go. I think for sure I would say to not give up, and there are so many beautiful opportunities out there, and to never think that they're not enough. Like you are always enough, and you can always do it. It'll be hard sometimes, and I promise you that there'll be tough days and rainy days, but like it's always worth it at the end. So just like just try once, and then it'll just go from there.
Thank you. I can't believe we did it. So I definitely want to thank everyone for participating, especially our panelists, each and every one of you for sharing your voice. I'm sure you're letting a lot of people know that they're not alone. And I'm glad we got to opportunity to talk about allyship. So hopefully that this will encourage some of our other attendees also to be an ally. So for those who want to know more about ACE and Co and the work that we're doing, visit us at aceandco.ca. And the survey, it doesn't end here. We're going to keep sending it out and sharing your voices so to see if things are going to start changing. And everyone on our panelists is actually creating some of that change. So thank you again, everyone, for participating. And it's always fun to moderate with you. And
Yes.
have a great day, everyone.